Okay, so welcome to the Surviving on a Student Income session. My name's Ruth Round. I work for the Gateway at the university. Please could you, if you have any questions, type them in the Q&A box, but make sure that you don't put any personal information in there because everybody can see it. We will be answering some of the questions live at the end. So if your question isn't answered as we go along, don't think we've forgotten you. It's just that we'll be answering them live at the end. So the presentation itself will be about 20-25 minutes, and then we'll be doing live Q&As at the end of the session. Don't try and put your hand up because the raised hand function isn't working, and my colleagues will be typing any useful links or email addresses into the chat box. So there is quite a lot of links to useful information in this presentation. So they will type those in so that you've got those for future reference. Okay, so I work for the Gateway. Our role is to provide advice and guidance to anybody looking to come to university. So that's new inquiries as well as applicants. We're not currently in our lovely George building at the moment. We are still working from home, but we are answering phone calls and emails 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, where we're hoping to be back on site soon, just waiting for government and university announcements. But do get in contact with us if you've got any questions about anything about coming to university. We're happy to answer any questions you've got, I say, either by phone or by email. So this session is going to cover how to pay the fees, what you need to do, general sources of funding that are available, what additional support is available for you in the form of funding and other support, looking at part-time work, pros and cons, budgeting, and as I said, we'll have a live Q&A at the end where we can answer any questions you've got and go into things in a bit more detail. When you start university, somebody will need to pay the fees. If you've applied for student finance and you're an undergraduate student and you've ticked the box to say, yes, I want the tuition fee loan, then you don't actually need to do anything further. You don't need to provide evidence of that to the university. Student Finance England or Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland will provide us with confirmation that they are paying the fees. Do check your student support letter to make sure that it does say on it that they are paying the fees. But other than that, you don't need to bring any evidence to the university. If you're being sponsored by an employer or another person, you need to upload your sponsor letter. So you need confirmation of who is paying the fees, and you need to upload that when you're enrolling. If you're paying the fees yourself, so if you're a postgraduate student and you're taking out the postgraduate loan, which is paid to you, and you therefore need to set up to pay the fees to the university, you can do that on the How to Pay web pages. You can set up a direct debit to pay in instalments and 3 instalments, which are timed to go in after your postgraduate loan has come into you. If you do get an invoice from the university that you weren't expecting, please don't ignore it because it means whoever's supposed to be paying hasn't. So do come into the university and sort it out as soon as possible. If you've not yet applied for your funding, you've not applied for your tuition fee loan, please do so as soon as possible, preferably tonight or tomorrow at the latest. It does take about 4 to 6 weeks to process, so you've got time to get it sorted before the start of term, but please don't leave it any longer. And I've just note on the end, if you are a postgraduate student, do remember that the postgraduate loan is paid to you and you are responsible for paying the fees to the university. So don't expect them to be paid directly to the university in the same way that undergraduate loans are, unless you're on a PGCE, because that is undergraduate funding. So the standard government funding, I'm sure you're all well aware of these terms. I've just included them to make sure that if there is anything that you haven't heard of and you think you might be entitled to, now is the time to find out more and get it sorted. So the maintenance loan is the basic funding, disabled students allowance for students with a disability or specific learning need, parent learning allowance, adult dependent grant, childcare grant, obviously for students with dependents. The NHS training grant is for students on nursing, midwifery or an allied health professional course. And the postgraduate loans are obviously for students who run postgraduate courses. So if any of those terms are new to you and you think you might be entitled to any of those, do get in touch with Student Finance England or contact us at the Gateway, and we can look at your circumstances and make sure you are getting all of the entitlement that you should be getting, all of the funding that you're entitled to. Student Finance England payments on obviously the first instalment will be paid to you once you're fully enrolled, but for the first day of the course. So don't expect the money to go into your bank account at 8 o'clock in the morning on the first day of the course. It can take a few days to process. So make sure you're fully enrolled before the first day of the course. The university will then confirm your attendance to Student Finance, which will then release the payment and will come through to you. So do make sure that over the first few days you have got enough funds to just see you through, because it doesn't always come in. Sometimes it will come in on the first day. It just depends how quickly it's processed, depends on your bank, it depends on a number of other factors. But it is important not to expect to have your first instalment into your bank account on that first day of term. You also need to make sure that the information on your student finance application is exactly the same as the university and the course that you're attending. So if you've applied for one course and you change your mind and go on to a different course, make sure you've logged onto your student finance account and changed the details and uploaded the change of circumstance information. Because if your student finance account has a different course to the course that you're actually enrolling on, we won't be able to confirm your attendance and you won't get your money. So it's very important that that all matches up. So I'm now going to go through some various other bits and pieces that will help you with your budgeting over the next 3 years. So all full-time students are exempt from council tax. That's undergraduate and postgraduate students. You don't automatically get notified of this. You do have to request a letter from the university, but you can't do that until after you've enrolled. So you can't request your letter until after the first day of term. If you are the only adult in your property and you are exempt from council tax, then the property is exempt from council tax, so you don't have to pay council tax while you're a full-time student. If there are 2 adults in the property, if you live with another adult, you are exempt, so the other adult, assuming they're not also a student, will get a 25% reduction on their bill. If there are 2 or more adults living in the property, then you won't get any reduction, unfortunately. University halls are automatically exempt, so if you're moving into university halls, you don't have to request a council tax letter. But if you are living in your own home or private rented accommodation, you will need to do that. You request that through your eVision account. Now, your eVision account is how we communicate a lot of information. So it's important that you familiarise yourself with that. And this is what the eVision homepage looks like once you've logged in. So as you can see, the middle square says official letters, and that's where you request any letters confirming you're a student. So there's the council tax letter. You can get a bank account letter to take to the bank to show that you're a student if you want to open a student bank account, plus a number of other correspondence that you might need. So do familiarise yourself with the eVision information, but bear in mind you can't request any of these letters until after you've enrolled and term has started. There are also scholarships and bursaries from the university. All full-time undergraduate students are eligible for the travel fund. So when you enrol, you will be given a choice of how you want your £300 travel fund, and I'll go through that on the next slide. The Access Bursary for estranged students are for specific students, for example, those who are care leavers or estranged who are deaf or hearing impaired. So do have a look on the website if you think you meet the criteria for those. You don't need to apply. You should have indicated on your UCAS form that you do meet criteria, so we should contact you. The sports scholarship one you do need to apply for if you are an elite sports person. And the Dennis Turner Hardship Fund is our, obviously, hardship fund, as it says, which is available to any student who finds themselves in financial hardship. Again, you can't apply until you've enrolled and are attending, but do have a look at that if you think you're going to be struggling, particularly if you live in your own home and you've got bills to pay. So all the information on those is on our scholarships webpage, so do have a look. So the travel fund, you can specify an enrolment how you want this. If you want to use it for travel, which is bus, tram, train and metro within the West Midlands region, then you click on the link to say you want that, and you can have a travel pass then for use on public transport. If you're in university owned accommodation, you can have £300 off your accommodation bill, and again you choose that option at enrolment. Or you can choose to have printer credit, which means for printing, photocopying within the university. If you don't need any of those, you can actually donate your £300 to the hardship fund for somebody else who finds themselves in financial hardship. All the information is on the travel fund webpage, and as I said, you don't need to apply for that. There's no application form. You will just automatically be asked which option during your enrolment. So the Dennis Turner Hardship Fund is available to any student. You apply and you submit details of your income and your outgoings, and the university will try to help as many students as it can. The application process normally opens mid-October. You have to have applied for all of your standard funding that you're entitled to, and obviously you have to be fully enrolled and attending. So they will assess your income and your outgoings, and if you are successful, then it is a grant, not a loan, so you don't have to pay that back. And again, you apply through your eVision account, and as the instructions there, click on the finance button and then click to apply for the Dennis Turner Hardship Fund. You will have to upload evidence such as bank accounts and your student finance notification letter, and then they will assess to see if you can get some additional support from the university. A lot of students work part-time alongside their studies. There is no set limit on how many hours you can work unless you are an international student, in which case there are set limits on your student visa for how much you can work. But if you're a UK student, you can actually, in theory, work as many hours and earn as much money as you can. But bear in mind, your main purpose of being here is to get a good degree and to successfully pass that. So we recommend around 15 hours should be manageable, 15 hours per week, but that does depend on the course that you're on. If you're on a professional course, teaching, nursing, those kind of courses, you're not going to be able to work as many hours because you've got placements on the course. You do pay tax on your earnings as a student, but your loan does not count as income. So you can still earn up to the threshold before you start paying tax. So for the majority of students, most of your earnings will not be taxed. It's only if you go on to earn above the threshold that you will start paying tax. Working part-time is obviously good for your CV when you come to apply for jobs, and the university can help you to find part-time jobs, and the information is at the workplace website, which is listed there. So looking at budgeting, the main budgeting rules are the same whether you're working or a student or whatever it is you're doing, and that is to maximise your income and minimise your outgoings. So maximising your income means claiming everything you're entitled to, making sure that you get any discounts you can get for being a student, making sure that you've applied for your funding, applied for the hardship fund, Obviously, minimising your outgoing is something that you will need to think about, particularly if you've been at work and earning money and now you're going to be living off a student income. Also, make sure you plan and take it seriously. Student money is paid in 3 instalments in September, January and April. So you might think in September you've got a nice lot of money gone into your bank account, but it has got to last till January. So it is important to make sure that you take this seriously and plan your budgeting. Cook obviously rather than buy takeaways all the time, and don't shop when you're hungry. Standard useful pieces of advice. Also beware of scams. There are a lot of very sophisticated scams that target students because they know that you've just had a lump sum of money come in. There's been an issue recently around students who've been targeted by people claiming to be selling Bitcoin, and people put their money in thinking they're going to get guaranteed return and then find all of their money's disappeared because it wasn't genuine. So do make sure you thoroughly check any web links, any information before you click on them and give them your money. You don't have to take a student bank account, open a student bank account. That's up to you. You can keep your same bank account you've already got and convert it to a student account if you want to talk to the bank about that. The only advantage really of a student bank account is they generally give you an interest-free overdraft, which can be very useful, particularly at the end of the first term with Christmas and you're not getting any more money till January. But it's a good idea not to assume you're going to use your overdraft and just keep that for emergencies. So when it comes to planning ahead, as I said, your instalments, your student finance is paid in 3 instalments. So work out your key expenditure, work out your rent bills, your phone, anything you're going to need. And then whatever's left, divide by the number of weeks till your next instalment. So from September to January, it's about 16 weeks. So you need to make sure there's enough money left to buy everything you need each week for the remainder of the term and over Christmas. Some people like a spreadsheet, some people like paper and pen, some people like to do it on their phone. It doesn't matter how you choose to sort out your funding, as long as you know that you're not going to get to end of November and suddenly realise you've got absolutely nothing to live off and nothing to eat. So there's a whole range of ways that you can do this, but obviously the choice of how to work depends on what you like, what your preference is, what will work best for you. Obviously prioritise food and rent, those are the most important things, but also make sure you familiarise yourself with the library and the online resources. Academic books can be extremely expensive, so it is important to make sure you use all the resources that are there. Use the library, be organised, book your slot so that you know that you can reserve a book for when you need it. You can download Microsoft Office for free as a current student. There's information on how to do that. If you do need to buy books, obviously look for second-hand ones and use student discounts as much as possible. There are a number of student discounts. The Totem card is the NUS card. That one is you have to pay for. Uni Days and Student Beans are both free, and they're apps that you can just download onto your phone. But wherever you go, ask, do you have a student discount? Lots of places do, not just cinemas and restaurants and shops, but lots of other services and online as well. So just make sure you ask wherever you are, because even if it's £10 off, it's better in your pocket than theirs. This is from the Save the Student website, and this is an example of the kind of things that students spend their money on. So they did a survey, and students spend on average £795 a month. The bulk of that is rent and food, but there's also a series of other things that you need to think about, like you might occasionally need some new clothes, particularly if we are allowed back out there into the real world. So you do need to factor in Also health and well-being, if you need to join the gym to keep you sane, that's important to factor that in. If you need a bottle of wine on a Friday night or a bar of chocolate every day to get you through, it is important that you don't assume you're going to manage without those things, because you do need to treat yourself as well. So as said, there's a whole range of ways to budget. These are some of the fairly useful ones that you can have a look at. So Martin Lewis's Money Saving Expert, Which, the Uni Guide, UCAS, the university's own website. There's a whole range of tips and useful information that it's worth familiarising yourself with to just see whether you can hopefully save a bit of money here and there and manage your money a bit better. There's a lot of information on the university web pages on the wlv.ac.uk/welcome. So do have a look at that. There's information not just on money, but also on what you need to do to enrol, what you need to do to prepare yourself for university. The Student Union will also help you and advise you, and they do some budgeting tips and can have a chat with you if you do need further support, as do the Student Financial Support Team. And the Student Support and Wellbeing Team will also help any students with disabilities or specific learning needs or mental health issues. My WLV community is, again, a way of keeping all the information from the university together. So that looks a bit like that. So again, familiarise yourself with it, because that's where you'll find all the links to various things that you need for sorting out your timetable, your printer credit, your library account. All of those can be accessed so that you can easily keep all your information together. Useful places to go for help. Welcome at wlv.ac.uk for anything related to starting your course or enrolment. Money at for the Dennis Turner Hardship Fund or for issues with student finance or any other support. Student Support and Wellbeing and Student Union, as I've already said. All of those you can email if you do have questions or advice, or the best way to communicate with the university is to log an eVision Help Desk query. If you email a department, particularly admissions or welcome app, they're getting hundreds of emails a day, and unfortunately, however careful we are, sometimes some of them do get missed. If you log an eVision Help Desk query, that is monitored and they will make sure that it is answered. So to do that, you go onto your eVision account and log in, and then you can log a help desk call. If you do it from your phone, then you just click on the appropriate link, for example, finance, scroll down and put a subject in. So for example, if your attendance hasn't been confirmed with student finance and you want to make sure that happens, you just type in confirm attendance with SFE. The university will then know there's been an issue with confirming your attendance and will make sure that that's done. If you want to do it via your PC, then again, you just click on the help menu and log a help desk call. So that was a very quick whiz through all things finance and funding. We're now going to take questions. So I will stop sharing my screen and my colleagues will let me know if there's any questions we need to answer.
Quite simply at the moment, Ruth, no, there are no questions.
Okay.
So if anyone does have a question, please pop them in the Q&A and we can read them out and hopefully get them answered for you.
Wonderful. So I just, as long as we haven't missed anybody, that's good. So yeah, if you have any questions about anything to do with funding, budgeting, issues you've got with student finance, obviously don't put anything too personal in there. If you have got anything you need to ask relating to your specific circumstances, then if you can email gateway@wlv.ac.uk, and you can obviously put personal information up because it's an email directly to us. Then if you can put that into an email, we will answer it tomorrow morning when we get back to work. But if you do have any general questions about the loans or, as I say, funding, budgeting, one question people often ask, which is, how do student loans affect you getting a mortgage in the future? So the answer to that one is, if you have a student loan and you apply for a mortgage, then the mortgage company will look at the amount you repay each month rather than the size of your debt. So they won't say, oh, you owe £40,000. They'll say, oh, you're paying £25 a month. So they don't look at the size of the debt. They just look at the amount you're paying each month back for your student loans. Have we had any questions so far?
We haven't.
Give people another few minutes just to see if anybody wants to type anything in, and then we can let people go and have the dinner or watch the football or whatever exciting plans people have got for tonight.
This session has been recorded, so we will be posting it on our on-demand webpage at a later stage, once it's been all nicely cut up and put onto the university YouTube. But I just thought I'd interject and just mention about, I'm going to really quickly share a slide, just to also share another link that you may be interested in. Bear with me, let's do it. Hold on. So this new, this link here, when it loads. So we've got a web page set up called Apply Get Set. So it's www.ac.uk/apply/get-set. And that web page has got all the different events and activities and information that you may need in preparing to start university in September. So we've got other events like this. I know Ruth's doing a couple more for us and the team. So it'd be really great if we could see you at those events as well. So note down that webpage, take a look, see what's going on, what you can find out, and we'll be really happy to see you. I will also share that link now in the chat to allow you to click it if you're on your mobile, for example.
Gina's just typed it in the chat, so everybody should have that now.
Lovely. Brilliant. So if we don't have any further questions, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Ruth for giving us that presentation. It's really insightful and really useful to have that information and getting yourselves ready for September, and all those top tips to help you smooth through the journey as a student with all those different tips as well. So thank you to Ruth. Big thanks to Lee and Gina as well, who've also been here helping Ruth posting links and keeping an eye on the questions for us. I'm just double checking that that wasn't another message. It's not. So thank you very much. And as I said, this video will be available on demand. And if you have any more questions for Ruth, Lee or Gina, please do contact the Gateway as Ruth has explained. But thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you very much. Good evening.